I hope that you're having a great day today. Today, I want to talk with you about Samson. Now, Samson's a really well-known person in the Bible, and today we want to talk about the account of him taking a donkey's jawbone and killing 1,000 men with it. So let's jump right into the text. We're going to be in Judges chapter 15 and starting in verse 14. It says, "When he," that is Samson, "came to Lehi, the Philistines came shouting to meet him. Then the Spirit of the Lord rushed upon him, and the ropes that were on his arms became as flax that has caught fire, and his bonds melted off his hands. And he found a fresh jawbone of a donkey, and put out his hand, and took it, and with it he struck 1,000 men." Now there's two words that I want to focus on here. The first one is the word for jawbone. Now, the word for jawbone is Lehi. That's the same place that he came to. And then the second word that I want to focus on is struck. And that word is nakah. He struck the 1,000 men. And so here we see that God has granted him this power to do this work. And so let's keep reading a little bit further. Samson said, "With the jawbone of a donkey, heaps upon heaps, with the jawbone of a donkey have I struck down 1,000 men." As soon as he had finished, he threw away the jawbone out of his hand, and that place was called Ramoth Lehi. And he was very thirsty, and he called upon the Lord and said, "You've granted this great salvation by the hand of your servant, and shall I now die of thirst and fall into the hands of the uncircumcised?" And so Samson says, "Lord, you've given me this incredible power to do this work. Am I going to die now because of thirst?" And so he understood that God had empowered him. Now the question became, will God sustain him? Let's see God's response. "And God split open the hollow place that is at Lehi, and water came from it. And when he drank, his spirit returned, and he revived." Okay, so again, there's two words that I want to focus on. The first one is split, and that word is bakah, which sounds a lot like that word that we heard earlier, doesn't it? It sounds like nakah, to strike. And then where did it happen? At Lehi, the same place where Samson had taken the jawbone of a donkey, the Lehi, and had struck down 1,000 men. And so God uses very similar sounding language of Samson doing the job that God had empowered him to do, but cast it in providing and sustaining. Samson had already done the work. Now God is answering the question of, will he sustain? Yes, God would sustain Samson. So the God that empowers also sustains. He provides exactly what was needed at the time, and he continues to provide today. He doesn't leave his people to just fend for themselves after they've done the work that they've been called to do. You know, today we're called to a job as Christians, aren't we? We're called to do the work that we've been given. We're called to love God, love our neighbor, and those two ideas come together in what Jesus tells at the end of Matthew 28, for his disciples to go out into the world, to teach, to make disciples by baptizing in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and then teaching those disciples to do all that he has commanded them to do. So God empowers us to do the job. Just like God provided for Samson, just like God provided for Peter or Paul, God provides. Obviously, we don't have the miraculous gift of the Holy Spirit in the same way that they did, but God provides. So, does God provide for us to do the work that we've been left to do and then just leave us for nothing? Absolutely not. Samson is an example that God empowers and he sustains. He continues to provide. The last passage I want to look at is in 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 7 through 10. Paul says this, "But we have this treasure in jars of clay to show that the surpassing power belongs to God and not to us. We are afflicted in every way, but are not crushed, perplexed, but not driven to despair, persecuted, but not forsaken, struck down, but not destroyed, always carrying in the body the death of Jesus, so that the life of Jesus may also be manifested in our bodies." So, again, even though we might be facing hardships, God has empowered us to do the work, but He also sustains us even when we face difficulties in life. God is there. And so the question that we have today is this: are we going to trust God? He's shown Himself to be faithful and true so many times for thousands of years. Why can't we trust Him today? We can, because He is a wonderful God that not only empowers, but also sustains. I hope you have a great rest of the day, and may God bless you as you work the work that He's called you to do and are sustained by what He has given us.